Harry was sitting on the highest bench, to the left side of Mr. Crouch. The atmosphere was relaxed, even cheerful. The witches and wizards around the walls were talking to one another, almost as though they were at some sort of sporting event. The door in the corner opened, and Ludo Bagman walked into the room. Bagman looked nervous as he sat in the chained chair, but it did not bind him there. And Bagman, perhaps taking heart from this, glanced around at the watching crowd, waved at a couple of them, and managed a small smile. Ludo Bagman, you have been brought before the Council of Magical Law to face charges related to the activities of the Death Eaters, said Mr. Crouch. We have heard the evidence against you and are about to reach our verdict. Do you have anything to add to your testimony before we pronounce judgment? Harry couldn't believe his ears. Ludo Bagman, a Death Eater? Only, said Bagman, smiling awkwardly. Well, I know I've been a bit of an idiot. One or two wizards and witches smiled indulgently. Mr. Crouch did not appear to share their feelings. He was glaring down on Bagman with an expression of the utmost severity and dislike. Ludovic Bagman, you were caught passing information to Lord Voldemort's supporters, said Mr. Crouch. For this, I believe a term of imprisonment in Azkaban lasting no less than... But there was an angry outcry from the surrounding benches. Several of the wizards and witches jumped to their feet, shaking their heads and even their fists at Mr. Crouch. But I've told you I had no idea, Bagman called earnestly, his round blue eyes widening. None at all. Old Rookwood was a friend of my dad's. Never occurred to me that he might be in with you-know-who. I thought I was collecting information for our side. It will be put to the vote, said Mr. Crouch coldly. He turned to the right-hand side of the dungeon. The jury will please raise their hands. Those in favor of imprisonment? Harry looked to the right-hand side of the dungeon. Not one person raised their hands. The crowd began to applaud. Mr. Crouch looked furious. Bagman got to his feet and bowed, beaming. And the dungeon dissolved again. When it had returned, Harry looked around. The atmosphere could not have been more different. There was total silence, broken only by the dry sobs of a frail, wispy-looking witch in the seat next to Mr. Crouch. The door in the corner opened. 6 Dementors walked through, escorting a single prisoner. They placed him in the chained chair, a young man in his late teens who appeared nothing short of petrified. He was shaking, his straw-colored hair all over his face, his freckled skin milk white. The witch next to Mr. Crouch began to rock backward and forward. You have been brought here before the Council of Magical Law, said Mr. Crouch, to stand trial for a crime so heinous. Father, said the boy with the straw-colored hair, Father, please. That we have rarely heard the like of it within this court, said Mr. Crouch, speaking louder, drowning out his son's words. We have heard the evidence against you. You are accused of capturing an Auror, Frank Longbottom, and subjecting him to the Cruciatus curse, believing him to have knowledge on the present whereabouts of your exiled master, he who must not be named. Father, I didn't, shrieked the boy in chains below. I didn't, I swear it, Father, don't send me back to the Dementors. You are further accused, bellowed Mr. Crouch, of using the Cruciatus curse on Frank Longbottom's wife when he would not give you information. I now ask the jury— Mother! Shrieked the boy, and the witch beside Mr. Crouch began to sob. Mother, stop him, Mother! I didn't do it, Mother! I now ask the jury, screamed Mr. Crouch, if they believe as I do that these crimes deserve a life sentence in Azkaban. In unison, the witches and wizards along the right-hand side of the dungeon raised their hands. The crowd began to applaud, as it had for Bagman, their faces full of savage triumph. The boy began to scream.